Hi everyone, I'm Sophia and I've been invited by BaeBoxx to talk about my PCOS experience. To anyone that doesn't know what PCOS is, it stands for Polycystic Ovary Syndrome. It is actually as common as 1 in 4 women have it, I think, so it's really common. Some women go through their day-to-day life without even noticing a thing, go on to have children, no problems, but for other women having these cysts causes a range of different problems like increased testosterone, increased blood sugar. Honestly, the list is endless, but it is very important for us to be educated on PCOS. There is a common misconception about PCOS that it causes infertility. I would just like to say first, I'm not a doctor, so don't write me on this, but I have been dealing with this for years. And from my experience, the word infertility is completely misused here because infertility suggests an inability to be fertile, suggests not producing eggs or not being able to carry children, and that is not true with PCOS. Actually, a lot of people with PCOS aren't even affected with the infertility side, but the problem is that some women who produce too much testosterone when they have PCOS, it affects their cycle, which means that they don't have a regular ovulation, which then means that they aren't able to conceive easily. But there are so many ways now to deal with that and get yourself a regular ovulation that infertility isn't as much of a big problem anymore. And actually, like I said before, the word infertility should not be used in this situation. So if you have PCOS, do not go to bed crying like I did when I first heard, thinking that you're never going to have kids, because it's not the case. I've actually never even been affected with that side. I've always had very regular cycle, so it's different for everyone. Okay, so I was like, probably from when I started my period until I was like 14, I had the worst period pains, like couldn't leave the house, being sick, passing out, like couldn't do anything. Went to loads of doctors to deal with it. They thought, like, literally acted like it was normal, until eventually, I think I must have been like 16. Finally they sent me for a scan and then found out that I had PCOS, but their answer to it was to put me on the pill, which to anyone with PCOS, I'm not a doctor, but that's not the way to deal with it. Like, it literally just suppresses the problem and causes other problems, so I wouldn't advise that. So I went on the pill, which caused me a lot of problems, ended up in hospital. That's a story for another day. And then my family decided to sort of take it into our own hands because NHS doctors don't have a real like depth of understanding of PCOS, which isn't their fault. It's a very like newly researched thing. I also then noticed that I was putting on weight very quickly. For a very active young woman, young girl, I would put on weight so easily, to the point that even my parents were like, something's going on, something's wrong. Probably thought I was secret eating, though they literally did, until eventually like more research came out and we realised that one of the side effects of PCOS is producing heightened levels of insulin. Now the problem is, if you go to a doctor and ask them to check for that, they just check if you have diabetes, which often isn't the case. You can be pre-diabetic, which they don't test for, which is what happened to me. So I went private and found out that I was pre-diabetic because of my PCOS, so I actually had to put myself on a really strict no-carb diet. If you either have ridiculously bad period pains, really irregular periods, abnormal hair growth, or if you feel like you genuinely are putting on weight when you don't deserve it, like genuinely like just putting on weight without even doing anything, then definitely go get a scan. Like, force your doctor to send you for a scan. And if you are in the position to, I'd go privately if possible, because I do think things happen a lot faster, it's a lot more personal. And it took me about a year to get diagnosed, but once you go for a scan, there's no way to deny whether you have PCOS or not, so it is easy. Just if you have any of those side effects, go get checked. So I can't speak for everyone because everyone that has PCOS is so different. Like I said before, some people get hair growth, some people get acne, a lot of irregular periods. I'm quite lucky because I haven't suffered with any of them. The one thing I did suffer with was the putting on of weight very quickly and irrationally. So for me, a day in the life is I get up, I take my blood sugar, I write that down, I weigh myself, I take all my supplements that I take for my PCOS. I then, most of the time, at the moment, I'm hoping that this isn't going to be long term, but most of the time I then have a day where I don't really eat carbs. I train. Before bed, I take my blood sugar again, and then go from there until my blood sugar's like a normal person. So at the beginning, obviously, I was put on the pill because I was told that that was to help the problem, which it didn't. So then I had to take it into my own hands. Initially, my dad did a lot of research. He's really into his health and found out that apparently the keto diet is meant to help a lot. So I did the keto diet for a while, which is hard. It's not really hard, but it is hard. But what I didn't realise is, while that may have really suppressed my PCOS, it caused me a lot of other problems. So like a lot of my hair snapped off. Then if you ever do go back to sugar and carbs, your body just goes mad. So I wouldn't advise that. Some people it does work for, but for me. So then since then, I've just gone on a very strict low carb diet and just exercise really hard. So that is how I treat my PCOS now. But actually in the last 3 months, I finally gave in and started taking metformin. So I don't know if a lot of people know what metformin is, but it's actually a diabetic medicine. But it is now recently been prescribed to girls with PCOS, and it really helps with regulating periods, reduction of blood sugar. I would actually really advise it. If you are like living or dealing with PCOS, I think one important thing to do is not blame yourself if you are putting on excessive amounts of weight or getting acne or irregular periods. You can't blame yourself. It's not your fault in the slightest. Obviously the horrible period pains every month that most of us go through are not fun, but BaeBoxx literally makes my month every month. I'm not even lying about that. It brightens up my day. And just look after yourself. If you're trying to treat your PCOS, I think the 5 most important tips I would give are reducing your carbs and sugar intake, which is not a fun one, but it does make a difference. Staying active, even if it's just going on a walk, just moving. Increasing your protein intake. Taking any herbs and supplements that are good to help. So for example, if you get your insulin tested and you suffer with heightened insulin, berberine is a completely natural pill that reduces your blood sugar. And finally, there is a supplement called Inner Folic, which I would advise to anyone taking PCOS. It helps to stop your hair snapping. It helps to regulate your ovulation. I think like 50% of women taking it saw a regular ovulation after 3 months. This isn't an ad, it's not medical, but it's really helped me a lot, so I definitely would advise that. Thank you for watching, and bye!